oftentimes the thing that frustrates us the most is actually our source of joy. Now, this may seem obvious with kids, but this applies to all areas of your life. Hi, I'm Shiraz. I'm a reality interventionist. Yes, that's a thing. And it's been a thing ever since I made it up. And being the world's only reality interventionist, I'm top of my field. And I guess you could say I'm the authority at this. So what I do, though, is not as important as why I do it, because I believe everyone just wants to be loved. And I believe that when you realize you can generate more than enough love for yourself as well as others while still receiving their love, that your joy, your success, and your impact will grow exponentially. And before I go on, I'd like to thank Robert, Iman, and Rich for creating JVX and Action Era, because if they didn't, I wouldn't be here right now. And I'd like to thank you for being here, because you took the action to be here. You invested in yourself, and that's because you want to make an impact. So I want to honor you for being the impact makers of the world. So my story begins at birth. Literally at birth. When I was born, my parents held me and they looked at me and they said, "He's so sweet. Let's call him Shiraz, because that means one who is sweet." Now, by the time I was 17, they realized they should have named me Sahir, which means one who is sarcastic, but that ship had sailed. My father is half Indian, half Malaysian. My mom is South African, Zulu tribe with Dutch ancestry because apartheid. So I'm a mutt, okay? And I've been mistaken for Moroccan, Egyptian, Brazilian, Iranian, but mostly I present to people as Black or Indian. And that's all great, except it also meant that growing up I had to deal with Black and Indian racial slurs. It wasn't so bad growing up in high school, but once I started traveling, things changed. I remember the first time I came back from Brazil with a bunch of friends, after we got through customs, I got stopped by an agent and he said, "We need to ask you more questions." So I said to my friends, "Hey, they need to ask us more questions." And they said, "No, not them, just you." And I looked at my friends who were white and I'm Black. I'm like, okay, I see what's happening. And after that, every time I crossed a border, I got stopped. I got asked extra questions. I got my luggage searched. I got my person searched. It didn't matter if I was driving across the Canada-US border, flying across the countries, or even on the Eurorail. And on the Eurorail, I actually called some people out. When they stopped me, I said, "Oh, is this your black check?" And the guy turned red. And I said, "Look, I'm not going to make any trouble. I just want to know this isn't in my head." And he said, "Yeah, they told me to stop the Black people. This is a black check." I'm like, okay. And as this happened, it lowered my ambitions. This is what I have to deal with as a Black man. This is as far as I can go as a Black man. This is all the hassles, the struggle I'm going to have to go through. So things that were where I said I got to go from 5 to 10, at that point in my life, that 10 was a 6 earlier in my life. And I didn't realize this was going on. The worst part, which actually didn't turn out so bad in the end, was when I went to Madrid. I'd finally crossed the border and didn't get stopped. So I thought, hey, things are looking up. Except I'm standing by a fountain in the middle of town, and an undercover officer comes up and says, "I need to see your passport." I'm like, what? Okay. I give him the passport. He goes, "You don't have a visa. You need a visa." I said, "No, I'm Canadian. I don't need a visa." He said, "No, come with me." So I go with him, and he throws me in a paddy wagon. I've never seen a paddy wagon, didn't think I'd see it from the inside, but here we are. And then he throws another Black guy in, and another Black guy in, and another Black guy in. I'm like, okay, I see what's going on. And they take us to jail, and they process us. And part of processing us involves a strip search and an anal cavity search. And I'm there in line watching each person go through this, and it was just to humiliate us and make us feel less than. And so I'm standing there, taking a step, anxiety building, watching that person get humiliated, take another step, more and more anxiety, until it's my turn. Now, because this was all going on, 2 things had escaped my attention. Number 1, I was in the best shape of my life. I was a bodybuilder. Number 2 is we were in view of the holding cell with the working girls. So when my clothes came off, that cell erupted. Woo, baby, all right, love what I'm seeing. So I'm like, yeah, no, this is not so bad. I can deal with this. And then I spent the night on the concrete floor and got the hell out of that country. When I got home, I was talking to one of my coaches, and he said, Shiraz, are you ready to step out of that story? And before I go on, I want to talk to you a little bit about stories. We all have stories running our lives, and we have good stories and bad stories consciously. Like, I find the best parking spots, or I never make enough money. Unconsciously, every story is good. It's either giving us an immediate payoff or it's preventing something bad from happening. And it's all about emotions. Your mind prioritizes the avoidance of emotional distress over physical circumstances. So to give you an example, let's look at money. Some people are not making enough money, and that's a bad thing. As far as you know, that's a bad thing. I want more money. But you may have a story that, well, if I make lots of money, then people are going to come up and ask me, can I have some money? Can you invest in my company? You got to take care of the family now. Are you spending your money right? And you're like, I don't want to have those conversations. And your mind says, well, that's bringing up a lot of anxiety. If we make sure you don't make a lot of money, you'll never have to have those conversations. Problem solved. So that's avoidance of emotional distress. But then there's also payoff. And you're like, how can I get payoff when I'm not having enough money? Let's say you don't know if you're going to make your bills, and you're struggling to get your rent paid and things paid off by the end of the month, and you just managed to do it. And you're like, wow, I did it. You get a hit of dopamine and some other chemicals, and your mind says, ooh, that felt good. Let's do that again. Now, your conscious mind is like, I don't ever want to go through that. But your unconscious is like, I like that hit. I'm willing to go through that struggle again to get that hit. So you go through another month of that and another month of that. But it gets worse, because as you're going through that, other things can happen. So these people ask you to go out with them, a bunch of your friends, and it's to something they don't want, that you don't want to go to. But usually you say yes because you feel guilty for saying no. You notice how people need an excuse whenever they say no? But now you've got, oh wait, I'm sorry, I can't afford it. So now your mind files away, well, as long as we don't have enough money, we can say no without feeling guilty. Let's hold on to this, right? And then you see someone with a lot of money do something really horrible. And you think, wow, I hope I'm never like that. And your mind says, well, if we stay with a little money, we'll never be like that person. And you keep building it. You're building brick after brick after brick of why you don't want money. And so that's how stories work. And it can even get worse, because sometimes your mind gets bored. So it says, let's make your debt lower, huger, before you come out of it. So it's a bigger fix at the end. So back to my coach, and he says, you're willing to step out of that story. And I get angry, like a lot of my clients do when I talk to them about this, and said, what are you talking about? This isn't a story. This is real, right? This is racism. Racism exists. And he goes, oh yeah, Shiraz, racism exists. Racism is a horrible thing. But what you're experiencing is a story. I'm like, what? He goes, you don't get stopped in traffic because you're black. You don't get denied jobs because you're black. You're only getting stopped at borders because you're black. That's a story. And I said, but how could it be a story? There's no benefit. There's no payoff. I get frustrated. I get delayed. I get humiliated. And he said, Shiraz, when you tell your border crossing stories, you light up. You feed off everyone's emotional response. And you can't keep telling the same border story, so you have to keep making up new ones and get stopped over and over and over again. You are addicted to crossing borders and getting stopped. And I'm like, oh my God. He's so right. He got me. So I said, you know what? Instead of getting love and compassion from people for the stuff that I'm going through that's hard, I'm going to create a lot more success. And I'm going to get love and compassion in celebration for what I can achieve, not what I have to struggle through. And after that, I didn't get stopped at the borders. And here's one of the crazy things. Do you know that there are non-white customs agents? See, I didn't, because I was unconsciously lining myself up with the white ones for maximum racism efficiency. And I also want you to get, this is not a story about racism. if you have a consistent problem, something you're going through, you're addicted to that. And you use this excuse, it's because I'm Black or Chinese, or because I'm a woman, or because I'm too old, or because of where I come from. If you're complaining about it, you're probably feeding off others' reactions, or you're using it as an excuse so you can't create success or fail at trying to create success. You've got that wonderful excuse there and you're addicted to the circumstance. So I'm inviting you to step out of that. Instead of thinking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what's the hidden value in this that I'm not seeing? And when you do that, the answers can bubble up into your conscious mind. If they can't, work with someone, because your mind tries to protect itself by hiding this stuff from you. Number two, remember that this is an addiction. So when you start to change things, when you start to make more success, more money, more happiness, your body physically goes into withdrawal. And if you've ever had success and then lost it, and more success and lost it, it's not that what you were doing wasn't working. It's because you didn't want it to work and you had to come back to where it felt safe and you could get your fix. So as you're creating success, if you lose it, don't punish yourself for it. Don't go into judgment. Just realize, oh, I stepped into withdrawal. Let's get out again. And that actually makes it easier to overcome the withdrawal. The third thing is that you need to build mental muscles to create new results. And there are exercises you can do to focus on what you want. And if you've seen The Secret, they say, think about the thing you want and feel the emotions of doing it. Yes, you can do that, but you have to do that from a first-person point of view, and you have to hold those thoughts and emotions for 30 seconds or more so your brain thinks it's actually happening and starts rewiring your neural pathways so that it thinks that's just who you are, and eventually that becomes who you are. So this is the secret to start to change your reality and to get out of this reality addiction. And I want you to get that it's so easy to get in there and it can take a moment, right? I got into my addiction because there was a moment where I got stopped at the border. And when I went to my friends afterwards, they're like, oh my God, we're so sorry that happened to you. And that was the inciting incident. It was 5 seconds of my friends taking care of me and saying, we got you. And that's all it takes. Right? In my book, How to Rewrite Reality, there's a moment in there in a story where a little boy, Billy, has an interaction with the girl for 2 seconds and it shapes her entire life. And this is what can happen to you. One moment that you don't even realize happened when you were 2 years old because of Billy. Billy screws up a lot of lives, let me tell you. It's now affecting you today and you don't realize it. So my message to you is, number one, it's your reality to create as you like. Once you realize that everything you're creating now is unconsciously intentional. Don't go into punishment of yourself over it because you didn't know any better. But now you can start making different decisions, different choices, and create a brand new life for yourself. You are filled with love that you can give out to other people. You may have been taught otherwise, but if you're counting on other people to give you love, you actually have to be a love generator too. So you don't have to just give it to other people, give it to yourself. Watch yourself fill up and watch how you empower others. And train yourself to just think of those things you want. Be in that space of intention for good, for joy, for success. And know that that's all coming to you. And when you do this, your life will be magical. Right? I want this for you, but more importantly, I want you to want this for you. So if you want this, give me a yes. Right. It doesn't sound like you really want it. Give me a yes. Yes. All right. All right. This is my Action Talk. I'm Shiraz. Thank you.